I'm Nancy Miller, the moderator. And I go by last name, so Sport Leonard. Yes. Thank you for being here. I know this takes a lot to run for office. Thank you.
I think there's just the three of us. Yeah.
As long as they. No, no, out front, so they can all see you up front. Okay. Miss Golden? Eve? Come here, please. There are bugs in my water. You might want to check yours.
Uh-oh. I don't see any. Did you get some?
Okay. Okay, I guess we'll get started. Greetings, I'm happy to see all of you here, and I'd like to welcome you tonight to the candidate forum for the Parkway School District. Also like to welcome our, our audience on the internet tonight also. We'd like to thank the Parkway Middle School for hosting tonight, and for also Annie Dickerson for her help. She helped me a lot. I went to the wrong school, so I apologize. I'm the one who's responsible for us being a little bit late. Sorry about that. My name is Nancy Miller. I'm a member of the League. I am a volunteer. We are all volunteers with the League. We have 5 people helping tonight. Our timer tonight is Nancy Billingham down front. Thank you. Passing out cards, we have Diane Madrell, Eve Golden, Nancy Price, and Eve Beretta. Thank you, dear, very much. Okay. These are the rules. The candidates have all received these. They have agreed to abide by them. The rules are that they will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. They will have 1 minute to answer each question. They will have the right to speak to all questions answered. We don't ask any questions directed to just one person. All of the candidates answer every question. And then they will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. This is why we call it a forum and not a debate. They are not speaking to each other. They are not speaking about each other. They are telling you what their views are, okay? Your job is to write good questions directed to the candidates. They will be collected by the League ladies when you raise their hand, and we're getting some, I guess, emailed in too. Please write questions of general interest, not about personal matters. Those will not be asked. In addition, questions which are illegible, embarrassing, hostile, personal, or unclear will be set aside. Questions relating to the same topic may be grouped together. It's your job to listen carefully and decide which candidate you are going to support. The timekeeper will keep time all opening and closing statements. When there are 30 seconds remaining, she will hold up the, you want to show people in back, the yellow paddle so that the candidates see they have 30 seconds left. When it's time for them to stop, she'll show them the red stop. And I expect you will stop. I've been here before, and you know that I'm really not nice when it comes to stopping. I just stop you. Yeah, yeah. It's the old teacher in me. When we stop, we stop. My job is to explain this procedure, introduce the candidates, read the questions that you have given, and in doing so, I go through the questions, group them, and again, rule out the ones that I have just described to you. I also ensure that each candidate has an equal opportunity to answer the questions. I am also have the opportunity to redirect a question if I feel it has not really been answered. Okay? I ask everyone to turn off your ringers on cell phones, watches, all the things which can go off now. The forum will last approximately, I believe, will be at 60 or 90 minutes? 8 o'clock or 8:30? Which one did you all decide on?
No one asked, but whatever.
Should we see when the questions run out?
When they run out.
Okay. All right, when the questions run out, short of late, we will stop, okay? All right, we will start our opening questions. The first one to ask a question, well, I'm supposed to introduce, sorry about that. Sam Ciorentino, is that correct?
Yes. Thank you.
Sophia Ford Glanton, and Sudhir Rathod. Mr. Wang was unable to be here tonight. For the opening statements, we will start with Mr. Ciorentino, and then for closing statements, Mr. Rathod will begin. So to open.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you all
You
for
want to take
coming
your
this
mic?
evening. Thank you all for coming this evening. We appreciate it very, very much. And thanks to the League of Women's Voters for having us here this evening to express our views and to talk about everything in Parkway that you want to hear about that we can answer at this point. My academic background includes a Bachelor of Science in Biology, and an MS in Counseling, and a PhD in Educational Administration. My career actually began here at Central Junior at the time, now it's Central Middle, when it was 7 different buildings and it wasn't closed in as it is. I was a teacher in science, and I was an assistant principal as well. I went on to Parkway East Junior High at the time, and I was an assistant principal there and principal as well. Then I went to the Administration Center and served as the manager of secondary education, and I was also an educational leadership principal and assistant superintendent for human resources. I truly loved the opportunity to work in Parkway my entire career. It was wonderful to work with the students, the parents, and the community, the faculty, and basically I left at about 36 years. So I had a wonderful career here in Parkway. I also had the opportunity to work at a private school for a few years. I really feel the privilege to serve as the director of the Board of Education the past 2 terms is really an honor. To this day, I continue to have a strong commitment to the education of all students in Parkway as they grow in knowledge, skills, and aspirations to their highest level. My interest and mission in continuing as a director is to do my part to assure all students are capable, confident, and curious lifelong learners. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophia Ford Glanton. I am an assistant professor of surgery at St. Louis University. I have a bachelor's of science from Stanford University as well as an MD from Stanford. I have 3 children in Parkway. I have a high school freshman who goes to Parkway Central. She graduated, or I guess I don't do graduation ceremonies here, but she completed 8th grade here at Central Middle. I have a 4th grader at Mason Ridge, and I have a 3-year-old who I participate in with the Parents as Teachers program. So I'm going to be in the Parkway School District for the next 15 years, actually. So you'll be seeing a lot of me regardless of whether or not I make it on the board this go around. I will be back. I'll be saying hi to all of you because I'll be here for quite a while. I am dedicated to public education. Both my husband and I were educated in public schools, and it was our way out of poverty. I grew up in a single-parent household, and I was the eldest of 5 girls and the first in my family to go to college, thanks to a very strong education in a public high school. If it wasn't for the belief that teachers had in me at that time, I don't think I would have been able to know how smart I was and what I would have been able to accomplish. So my desire is to give back to the students in this district and to also show them what they are capable of learning, what they are capable of achieving, and that nothing really is impossible for them. If I can do it and get out of the situation that I was in and make it here, even just to run for school board is something almost short of miraculous. So it is truly my honor to be able to serve in any capacity at all. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. Thanks to Board of Education, the school administration, teachers, parents, and Parkway residents. My name is Sudhir Rathod. I work in the business intelligence field in the automotive industry. I have an MBA in global management. My wife is a teacher in India, so I know how it feels to be a teacher, and that's why I bring a different perspective of what education looks like. We have a son, Sid, who studies at North High, and that's how I got involved in the school district. I was born and raised in a Catholic family in India where my parents couldn't get higher education, and so they ensured that I have everything needed to succeed. One thing I have realized is that if you have a passion to do something, nothing is impossible. I believe in giving back to the community and have been involved for the last several years with organizations such as Food Bank of St. Louis, American Heart Association, Boys Hope, Girls Hope, Junior Achievement, St. Patrick's Center, Youth in Need. I bring a different perspective and I believe in common sense leadership. I would like to quote a saying from Nelson Mandela that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Parkway is a great school district with supporting community and excellent teacher staff. However, that doesn't mean that we are the best. And that's probably the reason I am playing a role as a candidate here and would like to be involved so that we can really take that level and make Parkway actually the best school district in St. Louis. Thank you.
Thank you all. Well, we have some interesting questions. We have about 10 different topics so far. So I'll begin with the general one just to get us going, sort of. And this starts with Ms. Ford Glenn. If you could change one thing about the Parkway School District, what would it be?
In my candidate statement, I wrote about having a coding curriculum. Coding is the language used to program computers. And currently, I believe that we need that curriculum in our school district. I do think that it is the future. Technology, I'm from California, so most of my friends who I went to school with graduated are in tech. They're running their own businesses, and when I see the types of people that they're not hiring marketing people. They're not hiring people who can write ads or be creative. They're looking for people who can code. They're looking for people who can troubleshoot and who can help them get their business off the ground. And so I think that coding is almost like a second language. It's difficult to learn, and that if you start early on, it can help. You can develop a base, and the children can learn it from an early age and become proficient in it by the time they graduate, and not need extra classes when they get to college so they can focus on other things.
Thank you. If I could change one thing, then it would be that Parkway would be #1 school district in the state of Missouri. Because I believe in nothing but the best. I don't see that there is any limitations. We have best teachers, we have best community, and we are capable of being the #1. There is nothing that can stop us from being the #1. And education will be the best. It will be the school district of the community's choice, and that's what I would go for. Thank you.
Mr. Cynthia.
Parkway is an outstanding district. It always has been, and yet there's room for growth. And I think the future is really bright for Parkway to continue to grow. And one of the most important things is student achievement. I really believe that there's a gap. in student achievement with a number of students who are just not achieving at the level that they're capable of achieving. So that would be the number one for me as well. I also believe in school culture, and I think the culture of our schools is very positive. And I hope that as time goes on that we can continue to grow in character development so that each school has such a strong character development program that students learn to be responsible, respectful, and also learn to persevere in life, be kind to one another, et cetera.
Thank you. The next question deals with why you are running for the board. And there are several questions that all kind of fit together. People are wondering what volunteer positions you may have held, what prompted you to run for election, what experiences do you have, all of those together. Why do you want to be on the Parkway School Board? Why do you think you'll be effective? Mr. Athan.
I like that question, so thank you for that. Well, there are several reasons. You just don't wake up and run for a school board candidate because there are a lot of responsibility involved. But as you are involved more and more in the community, as you can see if I listed a bunch of organizations that I volunteered for, when you do play a role, people realize that you can make a good leader. You can make a big impact. You know, we start to realize we have to earn our own self and understand that how capable we are. Are we limited to just doing the community work, or is there something bigger you can give back to the community? And when you realize that, that's how I made the decision that I thought, you know, this community has given me a great family, a great platform to raise my child here. So why not give back to the community in a better way so that people can remember me for the years to come? Thank you.
Thank you.
As I said before, I had absolutely wonderful years in Parkway. I was very, very invested. It was my life, and it continues to be. And what's so special about the opportunities that I've had in that I left for a few years and came back to Parkway and got involved in Project Parkway, which I totally believe in terms of what is happening to develop goals and objectives for the future of our district as well. So it's an investment for me. It's something that is part of my fabric. I love it. I love serving on the board with some absolutely wonderful people. In terms of my volunteer work, I've served on a trustee is a Sacred Heart School in Omaha. I'm on the board at Rossman Elementary School. I'm on the board at LDA, Learning Disabilities Association, and I've also served as president of our church council at St. Anselm.
Thank you.
I think you do just wake up and decide to run for the board, because that's what I did. I have 3 kids in this district. My children are actually high-achieving students, and I've noticed that even with high-achieving students, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement to help the children who are not so high-achieving figure out their niche in the world, and there's room for the high achievers to even go further. Parkway School District does a wonderful job of helping to prepare our students, especially the ones who are goal-oriented. But what about the ones who are not? How are we reaching everybody? So I'm going to be in this district for a long time, like I said earlier. I've got a 3-year-old, so I've got 15 more years here. I want to be able to affect change, and I want to be able to make this district great as we move on and keep steadily improving. We shouldn't stay stagnant. We should continue to move and strive for the best. I volunteer locally with Ready Readers. I volunteer with my alumni association, and I also volunteer with other programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next question deals with the Parkway Early Childhood Program. In Parkway, this program is growing. What can the board and/or district do to continue the growth and emphasis on early childhood programs? And this one, Mr. Sorrentino, you start.
Early childhood is a very, very important entry level into education for children. I'm serving on the steering committee for early childhood at this point in time, and I have a vested interest in early childhood because it's a point of interest that is important to students, to children as they grow. Students who do not have the opportunity for an early childhood education are at a real disadvantage. And so many of them end up dropping out of school. Many of them get involved with drugs and alcohol. Many of them have personal problems. It's evident, research shows that. So we all have to support early childhood education, and as a board, whatever we could do to help support it from a funding standpoint, we should do that. In addition to that, we need to rally the troops and rally everyone in the Parkway community to ensure that every child who is out there, and there are many children who do not get the services because they can't afford it, somehow we need to develop a funding program to cause that to happen for them.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I volunteer with Ready Readers, which is an early childhood literacy program, and what I see with that program is that children as young from 2 to 5, you hand them a book and they don't necessarily know what to do with it. They don't understand the difference between pictures and words. They don't understand that you're supposed to turn the page this way and not that way. They don't understand up from down and how the words make different sounds and come together. And so through that program, I've learned greatly that early education is really important. It sets the foundation, it sets the tone for future literacy and for future learning. I believe that the early literacy program in Parkway can be best served with the foundation and with raising money through the foundation in addition to government funding for early childhood development. There are programs in place to help children who are unable to afford early education, and that can be, we can raise money through fundraisers, help support the foundation in its fundraising efforts so that we can ensure that every child is able to receive an early education. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree to both of you guys. That's fabulous. And I just want to add a couple more things. That have you guys noticed the difference between the kids that you guys were versus the kids now? The generation is, it's a fast generation. They are quick learners. And I think we should look in the positive way and say, how can we get them more prepared, more ready so that they are ahead? Because, who doesn't want their children to advance? So this is where Parkway can play a really important role and invest so much so that our kids are more prepared. At the end of the day, we want them to succeed in every facets of the world. So I think that's a great opportunity for Parkway, and we should continue to invest into that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now to the one I received 7 questions about. We're going to talk about the health curriculum. Okay? A number of these are asking specifically, if you had been, or as you were, on the board, how would you have voted for the new health sex education curriculum? And that begins with Ms. Ford-Glanton.
So with the sex education curriculum, I am a physician. I believe in medically accurate sex ed. I don't believe in abstinence-only education. I have seen that go wrong too many times. I've seen the sequelae of it. It's lifelong, it's dangerous, it can lead to cancer, and it can lead to diseases that cannot be cured or treated. So I do believe in giving medically accurate and factual information to children so that way they can prepare and protect themselves from everything that is out there. With the curriculum as it stands now, I wish I would have been able to tweak it. I don't like the ages that they introduce certain terminology, but as a whole, I do believe in inclusiveness, I do believe in diversity, and I do believe in factual education. Thank you.
When it comes to sex ed curriculum, I would like to give you guys an example. I like to work with the example. So think of this, if you have a newborn baby, would you feed the same food that you would be feeding a 15-year-old? The reason why I ask you that question is there is a process to everything. We are in an advanced world, no doubt. I am a firm believer of greater education, but we are here for a focus. The focus is the academic education. We have to realize that this is not the priority. So rather, I feel like this was too much too soon. It could have been probably played a little better because we all want our children to learn everything. But at the same time, let's not lose the focus from the education because that's where what is going to be helping them to advance ahead in their careers. So that's where I think the problem is that it was too soon and too quick, and there are a lot of oppositions, and I think people should have been listened well, and there should have been more analysis done before it was rolled out.
I was a board member, and I'm not sure if any of you were there, but the proposition, the proposal that we had before us did pass and all, but it was a very difficult decision for me, and it wasn't for religion reasons. Religion was not a part of it whatsoever. While I agree that children and teens need factual and accurate information on sex, I feel that parents should be the primary educators of sexual health when they think it is appropriate for their child and when at the right time. I think they are the primary educators, and I would hope that parents would all take that role very, very seriously. Knowing that this doesn't always happen, their child, I truly appreciate the study that took place and the sincere effort of the administration in proposing the program that they did. I wasn't able to vote for it for several reasons. I believed in most of it, but I had concerns about the extent of the curriculum. What do we really want children to know? What is the most appropriate age? And will the instructional delivery system be consistent throughout the district and in a meaningful and neutral kind of manner?
Thank you. I'm going to stick with this topic. Okay. Another element that there are several questions on deals with the curriculum, the health curriculum also. And I don't know, and I think probably Mr. Ciartino is the only one who can answer this specifically, whether this is part of the printed curriculum. So,
Part of what?
just a minute. Conference.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Put that down for a minute. Okay. Now, is this part of the curriculum that was discussed?
Yeah.
Or is it just something they want to know? It was part of the
It was
curriculum?
part of the curriculum.
Okay, then we'll talk, then I'll ask.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask. Just a minute. Okay, I wanted to make sure this was part of the curriculum. What is your position on the upgrading of sex education curriculum in discussing LGBT issues? And that will be first discussed by Mr. Ratad.
I was part of the discussions going on, and I can pretty much say that this was more focused and leading towards the LGBTQ community. However, we should note here that I also was listening, and I thought it was less than 1% of if the children are in the LGBTQ community. So that's how I was aware of. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you.
So
Did I answer your question? Can you please repeat the question for me?
what is your position then? This was a good thing that they upgraded it, including this, or this shouldn't have been done? They're asking for your position on this
So my
new
position
curriculum.
is that, no, this is not a good thing because you cannot focus. See, here's the thing. You have to be rational. You have to be using common sense. That you cannot force something. You cannot change something for one person. If that's the case, then I have a son. He's a wrestler, and I would say, why wouldn't you make everything available for the wrestler? But they have to go for a certain amount of people to even make that available. So we have to realize when you are enforcing so much for the 99% of the students for just 1%, I think that's not right. So thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Mr. Ciartino.
That's a portion of the sex health curriculum that I really agree with. We have a situation now that in our schools we have students of a different orientation, and we need to respect them. We should all respect them. They should all be treated fairly and equally. Every student should be respected, and that goes for students of any orientation that they choose to be or they are. So I support that, and I'm concerned in our schools if we have situations where students are gay or lesbian or of a transgender nature, that they are mistreated, bullied, etc. That should not happen. We need to do everything we possibly can to avoid that. So I think this is a current topic. I think this is a human situation that we're dealing with, and people are dealing with as well, and we need to respect that, and everyone should have equal rights at all times.
Hi. So with the amount of bullying that does occur in schools, I have to say that I am grateful that the new curriculum includes these topics and that they're addressed, so that way students can speak on them, and so that way they can do so in a safe environment. And hopefully they can have an open dialogue and be able to have these conversations out loud, so that way there's no snickering, it's done in a way that's controlled, and so that way the children feel safe and protected in a way. So that way there is no bullying for the children, and so that way they understand that they are included in this curriculum and that we take them seriously. We want to have a message of inclusion here. We want to have a message that we respect the children, in addition to their education, that we respect their choices as well. So I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, we're going to switch topics entirely. It's time to talk about ACT scores. Okay, this question is, to what do you attribute falling ACT scores in the district? And going along with that, what steps, if any, would you take to improve college readiness ratings? Okay, so that kind of prep for college. And that goes to first, I believe, Mr. Ratad. Yes. He started the last one? Thank you for telling me that. Mr. Sortino, then it would be yours.
Thank you.
Mhm.
ACT scores are part of our lives, part of a young person's life nowadays as well. I think they're very important. I think they really measure an educational progress of a student. I think overall in Parkway, we have good scores. We have students who do very, very well. I think our average scores are quite good. At this point in time, even the fact that all students take the ACT, we still show a very strong commitment to it as well. So, you know, I really think that it's important that from day one, it goes back to early childhood education, that students have the readiness for kindergarten, that they progress each year and stay on task and on schedule with reading and writing and math and science and social studies. And I think that progress needs to be measured as time goes on. And if we're showing that they're making progress, when they get to the point of taking the ACT, they'll show really positive evidence on it.
So the ACT is a good test because it tests their knowledge, what they've learned in high school. It's not an aptitude test the way the ACT. It doesn't test their ability to take college courses necessarily. So as far as getting them ready, I think we're doing what we need to do in Parkway to get them ready. We're having them take the test early. I don't want to teach for the test. We're teaching them to be ready to go to college and to move on in the world. It's going to be an individual thing. We definitely need parent involvement. We need to have the children be able to have more time to learn these basic skills that they need for test taking. A lot of the test is test taking skills, actually, which the schools, they're not necessarily responsible for teaching a test-taking skill specific to the ACT. They're responsible for teaching you how to be able to take a test, how to be able to write an essay, how to be able to express yourself, and learning the basic knowledge that you need to pass the test and do well on the test so you can get into college. With these types of tests, I've looked at the scores, and while they've fallen a little bit, they're still standard and they're still well. Thank you.
When it comes to ACT and college readiness, I'm a big proponent of that, because that's, you know, as I was saying, there's a phase to everything. We are here so that we can be prepared for the college. We want everybody to grow and succeed. ACT scores for 2015 is 22.9, which has gone down from 2014, which was 23.1. And if I would like to remind you guys, in 2009, Parkway District had an ACT scores of 24.1. At the same time, we have great students, individual students that come with a perfect scores. College readiness, we are at a 39.5, which is the West High, which comes the first one. And if you look at the other schools in the district here, in the St. Louis City, Clayton High School is 76.9. So you can see the big difference between a Clayton High School at college readiness of 76.9 versus Parkway School District at 39.5. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to money. Please identify your top 2 funding priorities and how you would fund these priorities. Let's do the top funding priorities first. Let's talk about, well, where should you put the money, all right? And that one goes first to Ms. Ford Glanton.
So I think early childhood education would be one of my top priorities. The early childhood development centers that we have in Parkway are actually doing wonderful work, but they are small and they have potential for growth. I also think that a lot of our buildings are old and on the older side, and we need to put some money in infrastructure and making sure that everything is safe and that we're proud when students walk in the room and walk into the building, that they're proud to be there, that the building doesn't look like it's in disrepair, and that everything is safe and up to code and healthy, that there's no asbestos or mold growing, so that way we put our children's health at risk. So those would be my top 2 funding priorities.
For me, and that's a great answer, for me, I would be, the number 1 priority would be taking care of our teachers, because they are the ones taking care of our students. So investing in the teachers, making sure that we have the best teachers in the school district. We have the policies to retain the best teachers in the school district. And the second one would be making sure that we have the best resources available. I think the combination of 2 will probably give us the best education possible for our kids.
Go ahead.
I will go back to early childhood education as well. I think that's a must and something that we all have to think about for the future, the immediate future, to be sure that every child in the Parkway community has an opportunity for early child education. I also agree with Severe about our teachers. Our teachers work extremely hard. I have teachers in my family. I know how hard they work, and I know what they're there for. They're there for each child to grow and develop and become the best that they could be. And I think we need to support them financially as much as we possibly can within our budgetary means. The other thing, too, is our buildings, once were very, very new. They're still very attractive, but the infrastructure, they need a lot of work. In fact, this summer, and thanks to all of you, the bond issue that was passed basically will involve 30 different schools in Parkway. This summer will be getting major renovations in one capacity or another. So we thank you for all of that. But those are some of the major categories as well. I also feel strongly about the curriculum development, and we should fund that as well.
Okay, thank you. You partially answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, as there are several people who are specifically wondering about the next bond issue. As a preface, in November of 2014, we voted in a $94 million bond issue, which we are seeing repairs and updates being made. In the near future, the work of Facilities 2020 will gear up to another potential bond issue. What facility do you what facility needs do you believe are most needed in future bond work? What needs to be done next? How's that? And let's go to Mr. Rathod first.
Well, I haven't been involved so much, so I wouldn't be giving you so much of a details on that, but definitely, and 1 minute doesn't allow me to give you all the answers, so sometimes if you see me nod, then you can see I agree to a lot of things. But maintenance of our buildings, making sure that our kids are having the best infrastructure available. At the same time, security is also one of the concerns growing these days. So we want to make sure that our children are protected completely. There are a lot of aspects we can invest in this. And the whole idea is to make sure that when you send your kid to the Parkway School District, they are safe and secure, and they are focusing on the education with all the resources available. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, as I said, this summer there'll be some major renovations in 30 of our schools. The following summer, many other schools will receive the renovations as well. One of the futuristic needs, basically, is what will happen to North High School. North High School needs kind of a major makeover altogether, and that will be part of the next bond issue as well. In addition to that, Mason Ridge is one of the oldest schools in the district. And it's starting to show. It certainly doesn't have the space and all the accommodations that our other schools have. So my feeling is, as we go to the future in terms of spending money for school facilities, Mason Ridge needs some tremendous help.
As a parent of a Mason Ridge child, I would have to agree with you on that one.
A little bit louder.
I said, as a parent of a Mason Ridge child, I would have to agree on that one right there. And I also agree with you as far as safety. That, as a parent who sends children off to school every day, that is my main concern with everything that we hear in the news. I think that any future bond issues should go to securing these facilities and making sure that everything is safe. And it's an unfortunate reality that we live in now, but I think that that should be a top priority.
Okay, thank you. Another question which has come in several times now. If large numbers of students, this kind of goes maybe back to the curriculum issue, if large numbers of students opt out of health, do you think the district should provide an alternate curriculum? Other questions, what's your feeling about the opt-out program? How do you think this was working? And this would go to Mr. Ciortino first.
I think the opt-out program is a need, basically. We had a very divisive group of parents in terms of the sex education program, and rightfully so, because it is a difficult issue, and one could look at both sides of it and look at the positives and the negatives on both sides of the issue. I think the opt-out is perfect as a principle. Years ago, we had students whose parents opted out of certain parts of the family life or the sex education program, and that was perfectly fine. And we did try to provide an alternative, and I think there's some effort now to provide an alternative for students, at least give parents some guidance, and also some opportunities for students to learn some of the material according to their particular feelings and beliefs and their parents' wishes, actually.
I definitely agree with that. I think that we can definitely offer possibly an online curriculum that parents can pick and choose from, the parts that they like and want to allow their children to learn from. Having a separate curriculum or a toned down curriculum that parents are more comfortable with. I think that things should be available online. The curriculum, we've all had a chance to review it, and so it's there, it's available. You can definitely pick and choose the pieces that you want to use for your children. So opting out of the program I don't think that we should change the whole curriculum based on some people who opt out, but I think that they should be allowed to opt out and that they should be allowed to use the resources that are available and the parts that they feel comfortable using.
I agree to both of them. In fact, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that I really appreciate each and every student here at the school district, including the LGBTQ community, because we are here to respect and treat everybody with the same fair amount of opportunities. At the same time, regarding this curriculum, I think it would be rather ideal if we had rolled it out as an opt-in and see what's the amount of students desire to go in, and then probably made it opt-out. That's just my opinion, because again, I'm not against anything, but we need to understand how our resources are invested. These are the taxpayers' money. We have to be very careful. There are people out there in the community that actually have a ruling about the taxpayers' money. So it's not that I'm against that, but we have to be very cognizant of how we are using the taxpayers' money. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Another question. This kind of deals with the health issue, but it's more in terms of our students' behaviors, high school students. We've all seen on the news lately about the heroin epidemic in our country, in our state, in our county, in our school districts. This question says, how do you think Parkway should address the drug and specifically the heroin epidemic? And that goes to Ms. Ford Glanton first.
So I know that as physicians, we've received new guidelines on opioid prescriptions and how to deal with this in order to make sure that patients don't have as much access as they have in the past. As far as the school district is concerned, I believe education is key, definitely. I don't recall seeing that as part of the health curriculum dealing with opioid addiction. Aside, when I was in school, it was just say no. We had the police officer come in and give us the just say no stickers. So I actually liked that program as a child growing up. I know that that's a little bit of a simplistic for today's children, but it is a simple message and it's easy to convey. And it's easy to also show, I mean, as a physician, I show my children pictures online. Bad things can happen if you use drugs. Don't do that, okay? These are the things that are going to happen to you. This is what happens to your body. These are the effects that it has. This is the altered status, this is the altered chemical imbalance that you have. So.
Thank you.
The more education we provide to our children, the better they will be realizing the impact and how dangerous this is for the community. Actually, my son did at one time during his part of his studies that they did a video regarding this. So there is a great, I really appreciate Parkway doing a great job about this kind of issues, and I think we should continue to do more and more so that our children are well protected. And again, it's the parents' involvement. Get more involved, understand how we are doing. If there is a change we can do, please come out and suggest so that we can work as a team, because this is your community, this is your school district, and these are all our children. We have to protect them. So thank you.
This is where I think the school could play a tremendous role, along with parents as well. In school, we need to monitor kids more effectively. If students are coming under the influence of drugs in any respect, it's quite obvious. And I hope that if that does happen, I know we take a risk in saying to a student or reporting a student that might be on a substance, but it's really critical that we do that. If it's such an epidemic as we hear it is, students have to be coming to school under the influence. And I'm not saying all students. I hope it's a very, very small percentage of students. I hope it's no students. But the school needs to play a part of it in terms of the education. And I wish we could partner with parents and the community at large and do something significant to help young people to make better decisions regarding their bodies and their well-being and their health.
Okay, thank you. Speaking of that, Parkway's strategic plan outlines social and emotional growth, including strong character. How do you think Parkway is doing in the area of character education? And do you see any opportunities for growth in this area? So the question asks about character education. How do you think it's doing? Oh, I'm sorry. This goes to Mr. Rathod first.
Can you please repeat the question? Sorry.
Basically, they're asking, how do you think the character education program is doing right now in the Parkway schools? Is it accomplishing what you wanted to accomplish? It said the strategic plan outlines social and emotional growth, including strong character.
I'm actually very proponent of these kind of factors, because a lot of times our kids do not get opportunities to learn the personality development and value clarification knowledge. So if we can establish that and make it more powerful, I think they will, at the end of the day, we don't want just them to be academically successful, but also coming out as a good human being, because they are going to be the next generation. We don't want the book smart, we want them to be a good human being. So I think it would be a good program, and I think we should definitely invest more into that, but it should be in the positive manner. Thank you.
Mr. Sortino.
Character education is really alive and well in Parkway in many respects. Tremendous resources are given to character education, tremendous training of our faculty. Students basically live in a culture in their schools where respect is important, responsibility is important, kindness is important, perseverance and hard work. Those are values that you see throughout the school district itself. Schools are engaging in leadership type programs that also encourage and promote character development as well. Most of our schools are really engaged in character development. You could tell that by walking in the school. You could feel the culture. You could feel how students respond to one another, how faculty and students respond to one another, how students say hello and how they're polite. That's all part of the culture that is part of character education. And we want every student not only to grow academically, but also to grow as a person in their social development, and emotional development as well.
So I can use my own children as an example. I see them when I go to the school, especially at the elementary school level. And when you walk in the door, everybody is so polite. The children are so polite. They all say hello. They're all engaging, they're all happy faces. Even when I come to the high school and I see the students walking around here, you think that they'd all be sullen teenagers, not wanting to smile, not wanting to speak, but they're engaging, they're polite, they're delightful to interact with. So I think that Parkway is doing something well with the character development program. And I would like to briefly just talk about on the opposite side, when you have to dole out punishments, and what Parkway District is doing in terms of their restorative justice, and not just teaching children that you're going to be punished for something bad, but how do you make this right? How do you fix it? You've done something wrong. How do you become a better person, and how do you make the other person whole, the person you did wrong? And so I think Parkway takes this job very seriously, and that they are doing a very good job with this.
Thank you. Right. Next question. And this deals with serving on the school board. New topic. Will you be able to devote enough time to the duties of being a board member and your other commitments? Mr. Ciortino.
I have done that. Basically, I devote several hours a week to board activity, attend board events. I've been totally engaged. I have the luxury of now being retired, so I do have the time, along with my other volunteer activities and my family life as well, my personal life. But I certainly have the time. I will devote all the time that's necessary to be an active and a very productive and very well-informed board member, as I have been over the last 6 years.
So I've always been a proponent of saying that you make the time to do that which is important to you, and that's simply a matter of fact. I mean, there was a time in history when they would have said that a woman can't be a surgeon. I can't be a surgeon, I can't be a mother. There's no way that I could do both. So I do have a full-time job, I am a full-time mother, and I'm actually pretty good at both of them. And I do know that I have the time and I have the ability to commit to this as well.
Dedication. It's not that easy. A lot of times people wonder how much I volunteer and give and we play an active role with all these organizations. But you know, it comes within. You know, you have to understand that you have to give back to the community. Sometimes I take a day off. You know, we all take a day off just to relax. I take a day off so that I can do a job somewhere else and contribute to that. And it gives me a great feeling when you do that for somebody else, rather than doing it for yourself. It's a great feeling. I really encourage people to do that. Do it for at least for somebody, and you'll realize how great it feels. So I'm more of spending my own time, spending my evenings, so that I can contribute, give back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Every school deals with student achievement measurement tests, right? Lots of tests. The question is, does Parkway have too few or too many, or maybe just right, student achievement measures to measure accountability for the teachers and administration? And that goes first to, Ms. Ford-Glanton.
I would have to say that I think it's just about right. I don't think that we teach the children to the test. I think that there is a good balance of the amount of aptitude tests that the children have to take. And I think that the school and the district does a very good job of teaching the material so that way the children are prepared for the aptitude test and not just studying for a test. And so they do well on the test, and it's a testament to their teaching skills, not to their ability to teach towards a test. So I don't think we need necessarily more aptitude tests. I think that the tests that we have now are measuring our students' abilities well, and I don't think that we need to teach for a test. We need to teach the children so they learn the curriculum and learn the material so they can succeed and move on to the next level. We need to have that solid foundation.
Go ahead.
I do think we have probably right amount of the test. I really would like to get more in the details though, because I cannot just simply say, since I'm not really too much involved in that. But at the same time, Ms. Glenn said that is correctly, that you cannot teach to the test, because if you have so many tests, then it becomes a habit that you're preparing for the test. So what happens to your learning time? You know, you have to ensure that there are limited amount of meetings, limited amount of tests, so that there's more opportunities for the learning. And I think that's where I always say that, you know, a good proportion is always good. And you have to understand that when too much of a testing involves, then it also becomes a burden for the kids, and they get tired of that. We don't want to lose their interest. So, thank you.
Overall, we're mandated by the state to administer tests, and there's always a question of how much time are we taking away from the instructional program for tests, and how many tests should students take. But one thing I want to say, I think we're seeing more and more in our schools, even at the grade levels, all the way through middle school and high school, where a lot of measurements or assessments are not paper and pencil. Basically, there are situations where students have to demonstrate something or perform in some respect or show some evidence other than in a paper pencil test to show that they are acquiring the learning that they should be learning. And I think that's great. I think that offers more of an opportunity for real life situations where you learn something, you put it into practice, and you show the teacher that, you know, I have these skills, I have this knowledge. And I think that's a better measure oftentimes than a paper and pencil multiple choice test. So it's really great to see the types of assessments that we're giving that are far different than the traditional.
Thank you. All right, this question goes first to Mr. Ratad. The Parkway, excuse me, the Parkway mission states, to ensure students are capable, curious, and confident learners that can respond to the challenges of an ever-changing world. That's the Parkway mission. How would you help to achieve this goal?
Actually, it's interesting that during one of the Project Parkway meeting, I had the pleasure of meeting Mrs. Margie. She's also she's the Commissioner of Education for Missouri, and I was talking to her, saying that we are in the school district. I'm a visionary person, so I always see what the impact would look like down the road. So I always recommend that we should be not only just academically prepare them educationally, but we should be preparing them as a whole child, so they succeed in all kind of situations out there that they have to deal with. So the mission of curious, capable, confident learner is absolutely the great, and I think we should definitely focus on that and making sure that we actually develop the child as a whole child. Thank you.
Go ahead.
An outgrowth of the Project Parkway and our strategic plan basically is to provide specific objectives dealing with capable learners, confident learners, and curious learners. So in our program as a strategic plan, basically these three areas have very specific action items, objectives, and action teams that are working on ensuring that we're providing experiences within our programs from the smaller children all the way through high school to learn to be curious, to learn to be confident and grow in confidence, and also to be students of high capability as well. So there is specific evidence that we have these programs that actually meet those particular criteria. And it's part of our mission, and we live that mission, and basically all of the evaluations that we hear from the administration to the board all have one of these goals attached to it in terms of what we're actually doing to help students become curious, confident, and capable.
So I believe in walking the walk, basically, and in being an example for the children of the district. And in doing that, I myself maintain a constant curiosity and quest for knowledge. Medicine is always changing. I always have to keep up my skills. I always have to keep up my knowledge base. I can't stay stagnant. And so I'm always going to refresher courses. I'm always going to conferences. I'm always going to learn something new. I'm always presenting that back to my patients. And so I think by walking that walk and being that example and showing that learning doesn't stop when you graduate from high school. We continue to go on. We continue to learn. I have a terminal degree, but that doesn't stop me from continuing to educate myself and continuing to learn new things.
Thank you. Next question. How can communication between teachers and parents be improved? And that starts with Mr. Ciartino.
This is extremely important, and as a principal, I always was concerned about this and always communicated with our teachers in terms of the importance that parents on a weekly basis should receive newsletter information in terms of what is being taught, what activities are taking place in class. I think that form of communication is extremely important for parents to become knowledgeable of what's happening in their child's classroom so that they could talk about the curriculum, the program that's the child's engaged in at school. I think that's a number one thing. That's one way to communicate. Also, when there's a need, basically that a teacher should pick up the phone and call the parent and let the parent know, this is what I'm observing. Are you observing this? What can we do together to help your child? In addition to that, I think that every child should get a positive call home to their parents to let their parents know the positive things that are happening in the classroom. Even the child who's not doing so well, there are some positive things to say to a parent about that child.
Thank you.
And I hope that happens.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I definitely agree with the newsletters. I look at them every week. I check and see what my child is learning. In the high school level, we don't get that kind of communication, obviously. I get an email every once in a while, and so I do miss that. I think that the teachers can definitely make use of their electronic and bulk emails a little bit better at the high school level to be in contact with the parents so that we can have updates as well. And definitely I agree with picking up the phone. I know that if I have a question or if I have a concern, I'm not afraid to call the teacher and ask them and meet with them or set up a meeting and talk with them to go over what's going on with my children. So I definitely think that the teachers observe a little bit more than the parents do with regards to learning, and so the onus is on them slightly higher than the parents in that particular situation to reach out to the parents and make us aware if they notice something that the parent may not be aware of.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have a teacher and a student in the family, and that's a bad situation because you hear both sides of the story. So, but the fact is, how can we improve the communication between the teacher and the student, the parents? Definitely, I think the rules would be rather we can just improve a little bit better and say, within 48 hours or within 72 hours, let's make sure the papers are graded. So now we know past 48, 72 hours, okay, my son has not done the homework, so that gives us the red flag right there. At the same time, we do understand that teachers are involved in a lot of meetings and all that. We need to give them enough time so they can correct the papers, post the grades, and also take time to talk to the parents. So I think we need to allow more time to the teachers because we also have to understand the other side of the story too, because they have a lot of stuff too. So the more time we give the teachers to work on these focused items, then I think there will be a better communication between teachers and parents.
Thank you. Okay. I don't know what this is, so I'm trusting that you all do. Oh, I'm sorry, did I skip you?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, sorry. Okay. The Kelly Sports Marketing Program. Assume you all know. Okay. What is your opinion of the Kelly Sports Marketing Program in the high schools? Is this a way that Parkway should be trying to increase revenue? And this goes to Ms. Ford Glenn.
I can say as a parent I wasn't a fan of this one. Just from a parent perspective, I'm not sure about the financial prospect from the school board and how much money exactly that brought in. But as a parent, it definitely hindered our fundraising ability for our class parties. There are a lot more rules that we have. We can't just print class of 2019 t-shirts. Now we have to specifically go through a certain vendor and things of that nature. So it made our jobs a little bit more difficult as far as fundraising is concerned and as far as what we're able to do for our students. Is it going to be good in the long run? I guess only time can tell. I guess smarter minds than me made that decision and felt that it was for the best interest. But as a parent, I can say that I wasn't a fan of it.
I actually saw that, and I think it was a great idea. But again, you have to understand that as long as it's just a kind of event that somebody wants to, because we have a great community here. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of great companies out there. We cannot straight ask for a donation, but we can say, hey, we can have this name and have a stadium. I don't see any problem with that as long as it's meant for our children. It should not become the business, because that's where we need to, stop the line and say, this is far, this is good, this far. We cannot take this into, because again, we don't want to lose the focus from the education. That's the key. A lot of times we get into all this, and then now the whole attention is diverted. We don't want to lose the sight of education.
Well, the Kelly Sports Program was intended to eventually become a fundraiser. At this point in time, 3 of our schools have the interactive scoreboards. That also includes sponsorships as well. I believe South High will be coming on within the next year or so as well. I didn't think when we approved that would have any interference with fundraising at the schools. That wasn't the intent in any respect. We want the schools still to go on with their fundraising activities as they always have. But basically, the scoreboards are roughly a cost of about $400,000, and essentially will be paid for in 3 years. And then from that point on, all the sponsorship money will basically go to funding other programs in the school district.
Thank you. All right, another new topic. And this one will go first to Mr. Rattad. Dress is becoming more and more sexualized. How do you feel about enforcing a dress code to limit distractions?
Oh my God, I'm just no, but the simple answer is, if you don't want your child to be dressing in your house, I think they should not be dressing the same in the school district, in the school. I think
Let me clarify.
Okay.
All right, I was a high school teacher for 30 years, all right? So I know what this is talking about. The clothes that young people wear are becoming, well, each group has its different type. The word used here is sexualized. That is perhaps too revealing, too sexy. I think that's fair to say. How do you feel about enforcing a dress code?
We are here in for education and not for some kind of other activities. So definitely, I think there needs to be a boundary that, again, as I said, it's a respect for everybody, and make sure that we, because again, the capable, curious, confident learner and developing a whole child, I think it goes against that, because we want to make sure that we raise our children with values. I have had a great teacher that I knew, and she said she would keep extra t-shirts just in case if somebody came in with something that was inappropriate. So I think that, it gives a message that, we need to be dressed appropriately. Thank you.
So would you be in favor of a dress code?
I'm not saying that we should have well, absolutely we should have a dress code, because, that allows, some kind of limitations. You cannot, we are here in the education. Again, that's the key, that we are in education, we are here to develop a whole child. So yes, that would be my part, that, we should have some kind of a dress code, not a straight now that you send back home because, certain, but again, we can say that, please, this is inappropriate, next time, please make sure that it doesn't happen.
Okay. Mr. Ciartino.
I'm a proponent of uniforms. Because I've seen it before and I know how it works in schools, but that's not going to happen in public education. I know that, unless someone is brave and risky and says, we're going to try this. And if we did it, I think students would really like it. At the same time, we need to protect our students. We're developing the total child, and part of the child's development is their presence. How they behave, how they look, and how they act. And I really think that when students dress more appropriately and kind of feel good about how they look, with the exception of being in an outfit that's exposing something they shouldn't, they feel better about it. They have more confidence, and that's part of it. So I would hope that we necessarily do not need a code, but we should have dress standards, and we should stay with those standards and not be afraid to say to a young lady, that outfit's inappropriate, and say to their parents that outfit is inappropriate for school for these reasons. And I think we need to take a stand on that. And I think that will help kids, and I think kids will be perfectly happy
Thank
under
you.
those conditions.
So I wholeheartedly agree with the uniform. I think that would take the stress out of getting dressed every day away from the children, and they would be a lot happier actually if they actually didn't have to think about it. But I also understand taking away their individuality. And so I do believe that having a dress code or dress standards is important. But I would also just as easily say to that little boy, you're dressed inappropriately, and you should go home and change, or you should put on something more appropriate as well. I think all standards should be applied equally. We cannot just apply dress code standards to girls. They have to be applied to boys as well.
Okay, thank you. This is another program that I don't know about. I'm not a Parkway resident. That's one of our things about forums. If we live in the district, we can't do the forum. We can't moderate. So that's why I don't know anything about it. Sorry. Okay. Parkway's Spark. Parkway's Spark and experiential learning has received a great deal of positive attention. Do you have any particular contest areas that you think warrant a Spark-like program? And that goes to Mr. Sortino first.
Spark is absolutely a wonderful, innovative program, giving young people, juniors and seniors primarily, the opportunity to be innovative, creative, develop a business. I think it's crucial to the development of kids, and I wish there would be an opportunity for all kids to engage in that type of learning as well. And I do know that we have programs in education, we have programs in the health sciences, and we have Spark at Chesterfield Plaza that really involves entrepreneurship. And I think there are other areas as well. There's many areas we can get into architecture, we can get into business, but I think those programs are going to continue to grow, and they will be happening in the future, and more students will have an opportunity for them.
I love the Spark program. I actually wish that they could apply a mini Spark program in the elementary school, just a friendly type of competition amongst the elementary school children to see if they could come up with business ideas and how they would plan to run a business, not necessarily with the funding behind it the way they do at the junior and senior level, but just something to get the children encouraged and thinking about it and getting those creative juices going about what they would do and how they would create their own business. So I think that actually the Spark program, just the theory of it, can be applied a lot more broadly amongst the district and doesn't necessarily have to have the funding, just the principles itself could be applied.
I actually want to thank and congratulate Parkway for doing such a great job of this kind of activities, really commendable job. And those children who are involved, I really encourage you all to come out and come out of yourself and show the world what you can do. There is unlimited opportunities that our children these days bring. They are technologically savvy. I mean, my son sometimes, corrects me, and I really love that. But the fact is, our children have so much out there. Let them, the school district should be the platform to bring that out. So just like Spark, there should be many more programs. If somebody is great in music, let's sponsor them. Let's give them the opportunity to develop. That's why the school district should focus more and invest more into that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Technology. Technology is advancing at a fast rate. How does this impact what is being taught? How is it changing the teaching and learning process? And that goes to Ms. Ford-Glanton.
Yes, so the children now they have their computers, they have their iPads, they have their this and they have their that, they have their flip screens and their touch screens and all of this stuff. And so they are exposed to so much more than we ever were. They have at the tips of their fingers, they have so much more information. And we see it in the elementary school level that, I believe, they have a 1-to-2 ratio on Chromebooks now at the elementary school, where the children there are able to share their computer learning, and they're able to be on the computers and work that way. So I think that we can push the envelope slightly further with that. Technology is the future. It's not going to go away. I think we need to advance it slightly further, and I think we need to incorporate a coding language in the curriculum so that way the children can get that and they can troubleshoot and they can learn how to code these computers. They can learn how to write these programs. They already know how to create their own apps and work their own apps and do this stuff much better than we can. We just need to give them that extra push.
Technology is the biggest driver of next generation. You guys can see, if I give you an example, I always have a 1 minute is less, but you can see how India has emerged technologically so well. So I'm a big proponent of technology. Not just the coding, and nothing against you for that, but technologically in general should be really the biggest proponent, because my son hates programming, and he doesn't want to go in that route. But I don't force him, whichever career he chooses. But the fact is, we should definitely invest more in the technology, because that's going to be the biggest driver for our success. Thank you.
We see now that young people, no matter how old they are, we see infants at 1 and 2 years old with little devices and playing games and all. Technology is the future. Our schools, education, learning is going to change dramatically as the time goes on. And it's all going to be relevant to technology, various forms of technology, et cetera. There's no way to escape it. The big problem with it, it's changing so fast, and how do schools keep up with it financially and provide the opportunities for students to have the devices in the classroom? At the same time, we are engaged in programs such as virtual learning that's taking place now. Those programs will continue to grow for students. We'll see some drastic changes in education in the next 5 to 10 years because of technology. And it'll be better for students in the future, and they have to keep up with it because that's their future.
Thank you. This next question deals with the gifted programs in Parkway. This one is specific to music, but I'm going to broaden it. This one is how to improve Parkway's music gifted programs to make sure gifted children are challenged. And I would think that that would apply to all of the gifted programs in Parkway. If you would speak to that, please, from a board member's perspective, the overview that you would have. And that goes to Mr. Rathod first.
And again, as I was saying, we have different kind of audiences. You know, we have to make sure that those are in the gifted programs are also paid attention and given enough opportunities to develop their own self. And the amount of opportunities should not be limited to them as well. We should provide everyone equal opportunities to develop and advance and bring themselves out. Let them show what they can give this new world. We would be surprised if we open up that door and let them come out with what they can do. I think we would be surprised with the amount of inventions, because that's how the inventions happen. We should not limit them. We should not, just ignore them. Let them show, there will be probably 99 wrong, but that will be one great. We never know, so we should not ignore any of those opportunities.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we have wonderful gifted programs in the school district overall, but what concerns me and always concerns me is that to be in the gifted program, you have to be at a certain level of academics and intelligence, which is a few students compared to the masses of our students in the schools. And I was always concerned about the student who just didn't quite get to that level, that really deserved the opportunity to be challenged and enriched as well. So I think that we need to do more, and one of the ways that we try to do it in middle school, we try to develop our teachers to be able to identify the needs of students to the point that they would provide challenging activities, enrichment activities for students. And one thing that I learned over the years in education too, you provide those activities for students that are bright and other students who really maybe they are not quite as bright, but they're learning far more because they're challenged and they're invigorated and they're inspired to learn as well, because it's exciting. So we need to do a lot more for our students, no matter if they're gifted or basically if they're on the cusp of being gifted.
Thank you.
So once you've truly mastered or you're truly gifted at something, you should be able to teach it as well. So that's one opportunity for some of our gifted students, is how can they use their skills and their knowledge to possibly help their peers. Another thing is there's no need to reinvent the wheel. There are programs out there that have advanced training, or we could partner with, speaking specifically to music, you can partner with the St. Louis Symphony. We should create partnerships to give our children more opportunities, so that way they can use those talents that they have in different venues or different locations. With any gifted child, they need to be challenged. And if we're not doing it in the classrooms, maybe we need to figure out what kind of partnerships we can have outside of the district that we can vet and work with to give the children the opportunities that they need.
Okay. I think I'm going to ask the last question. Well, it goes along with a couple of that we've gotten, and have you think about it while I do a plug for the Voters Guide. Would you please come up with your 3 priorities for the next year? If you were a member of the school board, what would your 3 priorities be? In just a second. And while they're thinking about that, I hope some of you have seen the Voters Guide. It came out in the Post-Dispatch last Friday. This Voters Guide, all of the material here, all 28 pages, were put together by the League of Women Voters volunteers. As I look around the room, oh, thank you. Many, many, many hours we spent on this. This is done by our organization to give you a non-biased view. If you go to, I do have to say the League of Women Voters because unfortunately Post-Dispatch, which just publishes it, put their name in big print. So I have to say underneath it, there's our logo and we're the ones that did all the work. If you go to vote411.org, you can go in and put in your address and you can get your ballot. You can also do that now. They've plugged it into their stltoday.com. Put in your address. It will print out your ballot with everything that's going to be on it. As I said, the League is a voluntary organization. We have a lot of costs. We happily accept donations. We do a couple of fundraising things, but you know, like 90% of our time is spent in service activities such as these. So just wanted to put in an extra plug for this. All right, are we ready? Okay. Starting this time is Mr. Ciotino.
My three priorities, I have many, but the most important, I think, is achievement, student achievement for all. As I talked about before, there is an achievement gap with a percentage of our students that we need to really get up to grade level, and that needs to be very, very high priority. Students that are at grade level, we need to move them even further, and kids are capable of it. I don't know if we're pushing and we're really encouraging them to go beyond, you know, what they're now doing, and I think we can develop a curriculum and a program and instructional strategies that take students beyond. The other thing, basically, too, I would love to see every school be a school of character. I think that's so critical and so important to our students, and it develops a culture within the school. It creates an environment that students are treated respectfully and responsibly and kindly, and I think that's really important. We have many schools of character, and we need to continue doing that, and I think that will build the culture that we're looking for in our schools so they can develop as good human beings.
Thank you.
Yes, so my first or top priority would be recruitment of excellent and diverse academic people to teach our students, our teachers to educate our students. That would be number one. My next one would be, guys, I'm going to keep bringing this back. I think we need programming in the school and a coding curriculum. It's another language. It is the wave of the future. They don't have to like it. They just have to learn it. Just like reading and writing and math. And then finally, it would be infrastructure and safety. Thank you.
Actually, you know, India has more coders, so I'm not against that. Okay, my top three priorities are improve college readiness. And, you know, again, you have to realize that priorities, they change over a period of time. You improve something, you go to the next priority. So right now, looking at the 39.5 college readiness compared to Lincoln College at 86, Clayton High at 76.9, Kirkwood at 56.8. I think that's probably one of my biggest priority right now is to improve college readiness so that our children, when they graduate, they have unlimited opportunities to go to the different colleges they want to go. The second one is safeguard our education system from unnecessary political intervention and provide common sense leadership. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And the third one is build a proud Parkway family of teachers, staff, and parents. And I think the reason when I say that is we all need to be involved. We all need to play an active role. We cannot sit outside and blame. If you have a concern, bring it here. Let's talk. Let's work together. I think that's a key to a successful school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, while they're preparing their final statements, I would like to commend you on your questions. We went through 22 questions tonight. That's a lot. Good questions. Also, I just want to tell you that you are very fortunate to have the candidates that you have, who are all individuals with a wide knowledge base and understanding and care a lot about kids. Sometimes we see candidates that really want to be on the school board, but they really don't know why. And your folks know why. They have a vision and a mission, so that is just great. Are we ready? Mr. Rathod, you go first.
Once again, thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for organizing this very informative session for the voters. Let's not forget we are here for the education. We are here so that we can invest in our next generation. We are here because we believe in people's choice, and last but not least, we are here because we care. Tonight, I would like to ask you all a few questions and would appreciate if you would carefully think through these questions and try to visualize what the impact would look like if they are not addressed correctly in a timely manner. Number one is, what should be the focus and role of your school district? Should the government or outside agencies be allowed to influence your child's life? Why can't we protect our education system from undue political intervention? Why can't we be the #1 school district in the state of Missouri? Do we not have great teachers or resources? Why do we have individual students with perfect ACT scores, but overall our ACT scores aren't impressive? The latest ACT scores for our district for 2015 is 22.9 compared to 23.1 from 2014. Why can't we better prepare our students for colleges so that they can have unlimited opportunities for pursuing further studies? Lastly, why can't we keep our Parkway pride up and strong? Mother Teresa has truly said that what you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build it anyway. Thank you.
Ms. Forglan.
Thank you. So I'd like to thank you for having me here tonight. I'd like to thank you for putting this on, and I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to come and listen to us speak and ask us all these very, very in-depth questions. I was definitely, I had to put my thinking cap on tonight. I appreciate all of your time and effort this evening. So when I decided to run for the school board, I did so because I care not only about my own children, but about all children in Parkway education, and that's not just lip service. When I work in the hospital, I actually work in a trauma center, and I see people coming in all the time getting shot. I see the effects of low income, no education, no hope all the time, and I don't want to see that here. I want us to continue our excellence that we have. While there's always room for improvement and there's always things that can be changed, we have a good thing here. And you guys are lucky in that no matter who wins in this election, you're going to get people who care about the children of Parkway. You're going to get informed board members, and you're going to get people who want to serve and are willing to serve. So I don't think you can lose with any of the candidates that are up here or running for the election. So I'm proud to be part of this group, actually. But I do know that education is important, and for me it was the key to leaving a life of poverty and knowing that there's hope, and that's what I hope actually to show students in Parkway School District, that no matter what, you can achieve things that you thought were impossible. You can reach goals that you didn't know that were there. You can do things that you didn't even know were possible. I didn't even know school boards existed when I was a child, and here I am running for one. So thank you for your time.
And I want to thank both of you very much. I've learned a lot from you tonight, and we're proud to work together and being candidates for the Board of Education. And I want to thank you all in the community for the opportunity that I've had for the last 6 years to serve as a board director. It's really been a privilege and truly an honor, and it's something that really, is important to me personally, and it's important to me because I hope that I can have an impact along with other board members, along with the administration, teachers, parents, the community, to make Parkway even a greater school district for each child. And that's what it's all about. I feel that every child can grow and develop to be their very best. And how do we get to that point? It's going to take all of us working together and having a concerted effort to make sure that we're caring for every child, we're helping every child to grow and develop, we're giving them critiques in terms of how they can be better, we're developing our faculty so that they could provide for every child's needs, which is very, very difficult, but it should be individualized as much as it possibly can. So I really think that serving in this capacity is a way to give back, for one thing, to help inspire, to help encourage, and to help to bring people together to cause that to happen for young people. I really feel that our schools are doing well. I do hope that the culture in the schools is such that every child feels respected and treated respectfully, and I think that happens, and I think it could happen even at a higher level. And I think we need to work together to make that happen. But I want to thank you all, and it's been a real privilege for me, and I hope I can continue to serve as a board of director in the future. Thank you very much, and thanks to the League of Women Voters to have us have this opportunity tonight.
Thank you. And let's give them a round of applause. Good job. If you might be interested, we have some membership information on the back table. We invite all men and women of voting age. All donations, all memberships are tax deductible. Okay? And remember, elections, April 5th, yes. Voting citizenship, not a spectator sport. Let's get involved. Good night.